So hello and welcome to this week's assembly. We're just at the time of year when Mothering Sunday and St Patrick's Day are very, very close together, and I want to tell you a story. So I realise that this is quite a difficult time for sixth years as they're facing mocks and the impending conclusion to their secondary school career, and for the rest of us as we adjust to fifth years going back in the near future, and to other years having to cope with yet more online learning. So a little story for you which I hope will lift your spirits and give you something interesting to think about. It's about a fellow who was the fifth of five sons. A little bit younger than me. He grew up in Cornwall in the southwest of England, and his name was Patrick. Now Patrick belonged to a family of brothers, as I said. He was by far and away the tallest, and he looked very significantly different, not just because of his height, to his siblings, and that was because he was adopted. His adoptive parents were a white English couple. He was in fact half African, half Indian, and quite dark skinned and looked very different, but he sounded exactly the same as his brothers because that's where he grew up. Anyway, after he left school, he decided he was going to go to New York City and train to be a jazz musician, which he proceeded to do, and at the conclusion of that course, he found work on cruise ships. And being on these cruise ships was quite an experience, and he did this for a while, and the way that the system worked basically was that he'd get to choose which cruise ship to go on based on the destinations they'd be visiting. So they might be gone for 2 months or even longer at a time. And on one occasion he noticed that one of the cruise ships that he could choose to go on to perform his music to entertain the guests was going to be going to India, and to a particular part of India which had been a French colony, a city called Pondicherry. So Pondicherry is quite a big city, it's over 1 million people, and it was at one stage French-speaking entirely, being a French colony. And the reason he wanted to go to this particular port was because he knew very little about his birth mother, but he knew that she was from Pondicherry. So he thought, well, at least if I go there, I could get some idea what this place that my birth mother was from was like. Anyway, the cruise was going pretty much according to plan, only when they got near to their destination, they were told, actually, it's not going to be possible to go to Pondicherry, you have to stop at this other port, and if you want to go to explore that city, you're going to have to make your own arrangements, get a cab or something, and you'll only have effectively about an hour in the city. Now Patrick was really determined to go. He thought, I've come all this way, I've got to go to Pondicherry. So he made the necessary arrangements and got to the city. He had 1 hour to spare when he was there. So he thought, what am I going to do? He knew that his birth mother had been a teacher. So he thought, 1 hour to go, may as well go into a school. So he wandered into the nearest school to where he'd turned up in the city, and looking a little bit lost, he said, do you have a record of retired teachers in the school? And they said, why are you asking that? And he said, well, I'm trying to find out about someone called, and he mentioned his birth mother's name. And they said, well, that's interesting because there's someone by that name here now. He thought, well, that's funny, I wonder if we could be any relation. So the lady in question was called from where she was working at the time and came towards Patrick, who was waiting. As I said, he's a great big tall fellow, and the lady in question was very small, a small little Indian lady. And as she walked towards him, her jaw dropped. She was shocked because Patrick looks just like his father. And she said, you must be my son. Now Patrick hadn't gone to Pondicherry thinking that he would meet his birth mother. He just wanted to get some idea of the place. So he'd not really prepared himself that he was actually going to meet the woman who'd given birth to him some 30 odd years previously. So he was shocked. She was shocked because she had not expected this now young man that she had no idea of his whereabouts to actually turn up in her place of work. So they were both really taken aback and quite overwhelmed with emotion. And then very soon afterwards, in this short window of time that the two of them had together, she said to Patrick, "Are you a Christian?" And he kind of mumbled some sort of answer. "Well, I go to church sometimes." And the fact was that although Patrick's adoptive family had been quite involved with church, he had not really been that interested, if the truth be told, and it wasn't really any of a priority in his life. So she said, "I've just become a Christian." And she proceeded to tell him how he could become a Christian also. He was convicted and felt that what she was saying was absolutely right. And he responded there and then and gave his life to Christ. Patrick went back then to the ship. He only had 1 hour, you may remember me telling you. And in some kind of whirl of emotions, told his friends and colleagues on the ship what had happened. And the management of the company heard the story and said, "Look, we'd love to offer you, your birth mother and your adoptive parents, a complimentary 2-week cruise together," which they proceeded to avail of. It could have been quite an awkward experience because there's no guarantee that those people are all going to get on together, but thankfully it worked out well. And now, some years later, Patrick, who spent some time living here in Sligo, has moved to England and has recently been ordained in the Church of England and is working as a clergyman there. Now, the reason I wanted to tell you that story, apart from the fact it's a great story, is because it seems to me it brings together these occasions. Mothering Sunday, the occasion obviously today when we think about our mums and those who have had a mothering influence in our lives that we've appreciated very much, but actually the origin of it was thinking about Mother Church, the church where you were first baptized if you are a Christian, and the place that gave you nurture and spiritual growth. And in Patrick's case, in his life, it was his mother that led him to faith in Christ. And also, Patrick's name reminds us of the fact that Ireland's patron saint wasn't from Ireland, and he was someone who, at about the age of 16, or certainly in his mid to late teens, became a Christian. He knew the story, but he wasn't living as a Christian, and he had the experience of committing his life to Christ as a result of what he discovered and the experiences that he had. And as we all know, Patrick went on to have a very significant influence in this country and, I may add, around the world. So whatever you're doing on the 17th of March, I hope you'll remember the fact that Ireland celebrates every year the fact that God has the power to change people's lives, to bring hope to the hopeless, and to transform our world through the gospel of Jesus Christ. Let's pray. Living God, thank you so much for our mothers, for all that they've given in order to nurture us, guide us, encourage us, and point us in the right direction. And thank you too for the amazing example of our patron saint, of St. Patrick, and for the example that he set. Thank you, Father, that he was brave enough to admit Jesus needed to be the Lord of his life. I pray that we would discover more about what it means to make Jesus the Lord of our lives today, just like he did, and that we too may make a difference for good. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you very much.